Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nur Rachmatiya Zahra. Today, in this video, I will answer the question that Mr. Aloysius have given to us about English drama. In number one, we have to choose one genre that we want to explain, and we find out the drama that relate on the genre, and I choose is melodrama. So the drama that relates in melodrama is Twilight. So the plot story of Twilight is a drama, fantasy, and romantic film based on the novel Twilight by Stephen Meyer. Twilight belongs to the modern kind of drama that is melodrama. When Bella Swan moved to a small town in the Pacific Northwest, she falls in love with Edward Cullen, a mysterious classmate who reveals himself to be a 108-year-old vampire. Bella Swan has always been a little bit different, never one to run with the crowd. Bella never cared about fitting in with the trendy girls at her Phoenix, Arizona high school. She meets the mysterious and dazzlingly beautiful Edward Cullen. For Edward is nothing like any boy she has ever met. He's nothing like anyone she has ever met, period. He is intelligent and witty, and he seems to see straight into her soul. To Edward, Bella is that thing that he has waited 90 years for a soulmate. But the closer they got, the more Edward must struggle to resist the primal pull of her scent, which could send him into uncontrollable frenzy. Somehow or other, they will have to manage their unmanageable love. Character and characteristic of the Twilight. Bella Swan. Bella Swan's main development as a character is her movement through adolescence to emotional and sexual maturity by finding her first and perfect love, Edward Cullen. Bella is a strongly emotional character, as seen by the tears she cannot control. However, she also has strong intellectual side. She enjoys literature and also takes on great determination when she reaches a specific decision in her life. Edward Cullen. Edward is an inhumanly gorgeous student at first. Bella falls in love with him and then finds out he is a vampire. He has superhero strength and speed, but he worries that he doesn't have heroic virtue because on his innate vampiric desire to kill humans. He has the power to read minds, which is unique in his family. Jacob is Billy Black's son, age 14 or 15, who first tells Bella about the legend of the Cullens. He is especially interested in cars. He also has a crush on Bella. Rainy is Bella's mother and best friend. She left Bella's mother when Bella was a baby, feeling too trapped and unhappy in Rainy works. She is loving, erratic, and harebrained. Bella often takes care of her mother more than vice versa. She has just married Phil, a younger ball player. 5 is Carlosly, as a young world-class sergeant. He is extremely handsome. He is the most human of the vampire and the oldest. He was born in the 1630s to an intolerant Anglican pastor who put him in charge of hunting vampires and witches. Alice is a pixie-like, lithe and graceful with dark and short hair. Like Edward, she has an extra power. She can't see things that will probably happen with regards to other vampires. Settings: Twilight has two primary settings: sunny Phoenix, Arizona and rainy Forks, Washington. Mayer contrasts the two settings, emphasizing the difficulty Bella has adjusting to her new surroundings. Conversely, the perpetual overcast of Forks is the perfect disguise for the Cullens, who are unable to go out in direct sunlight without giving away their supernatural nature. The disparities between the human world and the vampire world are encapsulated by Bella and Edward's respective bedrooms. Whereas Bella's room is personalized and live-in, Edward's is clothed and sparsely furnished, highlighting his, in many ways, self-imposed alienation from humanity. The summary is: Stephen Meyer's Twilight focused on the burgeoning romance between Bella Swan, a human girl, and Edward Cullen, a vampire. Bella Swan moved to Forks, Washington in order to live in her father, Charlie. At her new high school, Bella meets Edward Cullen, whom she is immediately fascinated by after Edward saves Bella's life on several occasions. The two grew up closer and began dating. A sadistic vampire named James becomes fixed on hunting Bella for sport. Bella is kidnapped and almost killed by James. When Edward saves her, she asks him to turn her into a vampire so they can be together forever, but he refuses. Melodrama. In literature and theater, a melodrama is a work with exaggerated, sensational events and characters. It is highly emotional, focusing on exciting but over-the-top situations that are designed to encourage emotional response in the audience. Strong characterization is not a feature of melodrama. Rather, characters are assigned stereotypical or simple roles, often in good versus evil situations. Melodrama in Western theater, sentimental drama with an improbable that concern the vicissitudes suffered by the virtuous at the hands of the villainous but ends happily with virtue triumphant. Featuring stock characters such as the noble hero, the long-suffering heroine, and the cold-blooded villain. The melodrama focuses not on character development but a sensational incidents and spectacular staking. In music, melodrama signifies lines spoken to a musical accompaniment. Realistic drama. The plot contains a lot of dramatic irony. There are secrets and misunderstandings known to the audience but unknown to other characters. There is also a lot of exposition after which the plot uses artificial entrances, exits, and props to increase suspense. The hero is constantly winning and losing battles against his rival. Based on the five senses: sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch, brought a new kind of truth to the stage. Many believe that theaters should draw attention to social problems, refuse to make simple moral judgments, or to resolve dramatic action neatly. Morality was relative. Use complicated characters molded by both heredity and environment. Language was colloquial and conversational, and often censored. That is component of realistic drama. Theater absurd. The absurd theater is a theater of situation, as against the more conventional theater of sequential events. It presents a pattern of poetic image, using visual elements, movement and light. In the theater of the absurd, language is only one of many components, multidimensional poetic imagery. So, this is a play writer of melodrama, realistic, and theater absurd. The first we have playwriter of melodrama. Jan Jacques Rousseau's play Pygmalion is one of the most influential examples of melodrama. It is an adaptation of the classic Greek myth, which tells of the sculptor Pygmalion who falls in love with his own statue, which eventually comes to life. Rose's work combined music and spoken word on stage to change the audience's emotional experience. Rose, Rousseau designed his work so that his protagonist Pygmalion's strongest emotions were expressed by deeply moving music rather than speech. Third, Rose's play is rarely performed nowadays. It was one of the first examples of melodrama and had a highly influential role in the genre's development. Below is a famous etching depicting Pygmalion and his statue Galatea, designed for Rousseau's works by French artist Jean-Michel Moreau. The others we have Olive Higgins Prouty, Stella Dallas. Prouty's 1920 novel is melodramatic satire, centering on the working-class title character and her devotion to her daughter and life as a single mother. Stella sacrifices for her daughter, Laurel, and the story culminates in Stella essentially cutting ties with Laurel to give her a better life than Stella has had. The melodramatic final scene finds Laurel marrying a rich, handsome man, with Stella watching incognito from outside the window in the pouring rain. Two is the player writer of realistic drama. In here we have Henrik Ibsen, whose play it throughout the world is probably A Doll's House, which culminates in the character of Nora leaving her husband Thorvald and her three children, unheard of in 1879, when it was first performed, and still one of the most famous gender political moments in world literature. The role of Nora even holds an iconic status. UNESCO memory of the World Register calls Nora a symbol throughout the world for women fighting for liberation and equality. The second is the plays of Bret Excel years became famous in the author's own and other productions. Notable among them are Murder Coverage and Ihre Kinder, 1941, Mother Courage and Her Children. The plot revolves around a woman who depends on war for her personal survival and who is nicknamed Mother Courage for her coolness in safeguarding her merchandise under enemy fire. The deaths of her three children, one by one, don't interrupt her profiteering. The third, we have the play writer of theatre absurd. The first is Samuel Beckett, Waiting for Godot. The play consists of conversations between Vladimir and Estragon, who are waiting for the arrival of the mysterious Godot, who continually sends word that he will appear, but who never does. They, they encounter Lucky and Pozo. They discuss their miseries and their lots in life. They consider hanging themselves, and yet they wait, often perceived as being tramps. Vladimir and Estragon are a pair of human beings who do not know why they were put on earth. They make they make the tenuous assumption that there must be some point to their existence, and they look to God for enlightenment because they hold out hope for meaning and direction. They acquire a kind of nobility that enables them to rise above their worldly existence. The second is Jen Gannett, The Balcony. In The Balcony, playwright Jen Gannett uses the backdrop of brothel to condemn the corruption and the pettiness of which all people are capable. He is particularly scathing towards those in power. Outside of the brothel, the city, which is never named, is undergoing a revolution without a clear aim. For much of the play, it is unclear whether the revolution is real or an elaborate extension of the fantasies being played out in the brothel, which is called the Grand Balcony. The elements of melodrama, realistic drama, and theater of absurd. The first is the key features of melodrama as from are pathos, over, overwrought or heightened emotions, moral polarizations, good versus evil, non-classical narrative structures, especially the use of extreme coincidence and deus ex machina to further plot elements, and sensationalism emphasis on actions, violence, and thrills. Typically, the melodrama has three major plot elements. Provo- Provocation is whatever provokes the villain to do evil to the hero. Pangs are the pains that the hero, heroine, and other good characters suffer through it because of the villain's evil. And the penalty is the last part of the play, where the villain gets the punishment that he or she deserves. Realistic drama, a focus on real life. The theater of realism investigated and spoke about real people in everyday situations dealing with common problems, and emphasis on behavior and thought decisions, believable dialogue, the key concept found in realist theory or anarchy, the balance of power and the national interest. Theatrical features play within this group are absurd in that they focus not on logical acts, realistic occurrences, or traditional character development. They instead focus on human being trapped in an incomprehensible world subject to any occurrence, no matter how illogical. Common elements in absurdist fiction include satire, dark humor, incongruity, the abasement of reason, and controversy regarding the philosophical condition of being nothing. Absurdist fiction is play from is known as absurdist theater. In the theater was a general movement that began in 19th century theater around the 1870s and remained present through much of the 20th century. It developed a set of dramatic and theatrical conventions with the aim of bringing a greater fidelity of real life to text and performance. These conventions occur in the text, sets, costumes, sound and lighting, design, performance style, and narrative structure. They include recreating on stage as facsimile or real-life expect missing fourth wall on proscenium arch stage. Characters speak in naturalistic, authentic dialogue without forced or poetic stylings, and acting is meant to emulate human behavior in real life. Theater absurd. This movement, influenced by existentialism, began in the form of experimental theater in Paris and recently, after the spread of the absurd form in other countries, absurdist plays were written in French. Absurd elements first came into existence after the rise of Greek drama in the place of Aristophanes in the form of wild humor and pavonary old comedy. Then morality plays of the Middle Age can also be called precursor of the theatre of the absurd dealing with common man's struggle with allegorical and existential problems. During Elizabethan period, dramatic like John Webster, Cyril Tourneur, Jacob Biederman, and Calderon picture the world as mythological archetype. In 19th century, Ibsen and Strindberg also included some elements of absurd theater in their plays, but real precursor of the present theater is Alfred Cherry's monstrous puppet play Ubi Roy, 1896. A glimpse of the theatre of absurd can be seen in the dream novels of James Joyce, Franz Kafka, who create archetype by delving deep into their own consciousness and attempting to explore the universe. World War II finally brought the theater of absurd to life because the chaotic atmosphere during the time was compelling them to think about their absurd existence. Thank you very much for your attention. This is the last of the video. Thank you very much.